Welcome to the Drive-In Agricultural Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Joe Hollabaugh, professional breakaway roper and a member of the Ag Truck Trader Pro Rodeo team. Here at Drive-In Agriculture, we are all things agriculture all the time, and our main priority is doing what's best in the ag space, talking trucks. So strap in and let's go roll some coal. Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Drive-In Agricultural Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Joe Hollabaugh, and I am welcomed today by two very accomplished men in their industry and some pretty big people in the AgPack partner business that we call Certified Ag Group. So I want to welcome in Jake Beam and Mr. Jay Brown. Thank you guys both so much for joining us today on the podcast.
No problem. Good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
We did some pivoting to get this show on the road, no pun intended. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. But it is Smart Irrigation Month. I don't know if anybody else knew that. And when so I'm originally, small background for me, I am Colorado girl, and my family has a small farm. We farm alfalfa hay. And so when I think of Smart Irrigation, I'm a little bit Sheldon minded. I don't know if you guys have seen Big Bang Theory, but I don't have a whole lot of common sense. So I'm like, ooh, we're irrigating smart. What does that mean? So I'm excited about this episode today, excited to visit with you guys and debunk like what is smart irrigation. But first and foremost, I want to jump in. Jake Beam, tell me a little bit about you, who you are, and what you do.
Yeah, Jake Beam. I'm a technical sales manager here for Reinke Manufacturing. Reinke Manufacturing is a family-based company, family-owned company out of Deshler, Nebraska. And we are a pivot manufacturer or irrigation manufacturer, right? So we make center pivots, lateral move systems, those types of things. A little bit about me. I grew up in north central Kansas. My dad ran a small, cow-calf pair operation. Not much irrigation where I grew up. So irrigation was new to me, kind of like it is, to you. And I've got been married for like 16 years. I'm gonna say because if my wife catches me wrong, she'll correct me at home. So we'll go with 16 years.
16 years, 4 months, and 2 days. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll go something like that. Got four kids at home. Pretty typical Midwest family, 4 kids, 3 dogs, 2 cows, and I think my son is up to 37 chickens or something like that. I don't know. I'm losing control. So
I like it. Very impressive. So you have no lack of eggs whatsoever.
Lots of protein at our house.
Lots of protein, some baking, I'm sure.
Yes.
Lots of good homemade meals with all those chickens. Cool. All right, Mr. J, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I'm from Central Georgia. I grew up in the irrigation business. I've been doing it about 20 years. Started our own business, Brown Irrigation, about 4 years ago. We got offices in Hawkinsville and Tifton, and we're a Reinke dealer, and we use a lot of their technology products and everything else, as well as we've used the AgPack system and buy a lot of Ram trucks and all that kind of stuff with all our stuff there. Me personally, I've been married for 9 years. I got 3 little kids, 6-year-old and 5-year-old twins, and got the 2 dogs at the house and 1 cat. We hadn't moved up to the cows or the chickens yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's your numerical count on chickens? Like, you got to get some chickens.
Yes, definitely. And especially with the crazy egg prices, chickens have been a big deal.
I'm telling you.
We've got 2 different people that work with us that bring in eggs from their house, and it's a office battle of who's getting the carton of eggs that week. And so definitely comes in there. But we've been really blessed, and we kind of grew up different than there was always irrigation around us here in Georgia. It's a lot different than Nebraska. It's not as consistent as pine trees and irrigation and pine trees again type deal, but it's always been a part of it.
Well, and that's what I love is the more I learn about, I think when growing up, I had a simple mind that like everybody farms just like we do in Colorado, right? So we have irrigation ditch. We get the water on a certain basis of like how much water we own is how much water we get and how often we get it every week. We literally went and got it out of the head gate, ran it down the ditch. We pumped it by hand in the tubes. Like I can damn sure set a row of tubes pretty fast. If anybody wants to race, like we can go. But we didn't have a whole lot of pivots irrigation, but I think it's real. I was simple minded, like, well, this is how everybody irrigates, but that's not really the case in all situations. So it's really neat to learn and evolve, like how we're irrigating differently in Kansas, how we're irrigating differently in Georgia based on the environment and the weather and all the things that go into it, the water availability, what we have going on. So it's been fun to learn a little bit about irrigation in different places. I guess you guys don't do it like us in Colorado, which you should have. But anyway,
Yes,
Jake, go
and
ahead.
that's crazy to me how the canals and stuff. I'm always intrigued by that because I was probably in my late 20s by the time I ever even seen that kind of operation going on.
Yeah,
And so we had grew up entirely pumping out of ponds and wells and all kind of stuff there. So we don't have any canals or any kind of water like that.
that's cool. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
neat to see everywhere around.
Yeah,
Yep.
Jay's in a very unique part of the world where, I'm looking out the window here and, I'm going to see basic rotations of beans and corn year after year.
Hmm.
Jay, depending on which corner you turn around, they may have cotton or peanuts or any type of produce, broccoli. I mean, they have it's an amazing part of the world if you get into southern Georgia.
Oh, we learned a new one for us about 2 weeks ago. We're using center pivots to water pine tree seedlings
Very neat.
and growing them and just all kind of stuff.
Very neat. Well, and thankful that God didn't make it all the same, right? We have
Yes.
different areas for different crops, different growing, different things like that. So let's jump into smart irrigation. Jake, what is smart irrigation and how does it apply? Like, why are we featuring smart irrigation this month?
Yeah, I think sometimes we get confused or kind of pigeonhole ourselves in smart irrigation a lot of times. We think about using new technology and phones and all that kind of stuff. One of the biggest things that Reinke is offering this summer, we're releasing our new E3 system. And it's a new brand of pivot. It's our third series or third generation of pivot. And the biggest thing that's probably going to influence the industry the most is that no matter which, so when you think about building a pivot, right, every field's a little different. We just talked about that, right? So stuff from Colorado down to Georgia, down to Kansas, it's all a little different. But with this new E3 system, no matter what size of pivot you put out there, no matter how long it is, we're going to get uniform spacing going across our outlets, going down the system. And that's from the center point all the way to the end. Now, for the a little bit greener people, what that means is that if you think about a pivot, think about if we're watering corn, right? That very end of the pivot, think about how many more plants it covers than the very beginning part of the pivot.
Right?
As it goes around the field, it's covering an immense amount part of our field. So we have to put more water out at the end of the pivot than we do at the beginning. So if we think about that and if we do that very uniformly and evenly all the way out, our uniformity goes up, which then increases our efficiency. And then we can start saving on fossil fuels, fertilizers, all input costs. That's a big one coming up. And when we think about technology, sometimes we forget just the way we do things is a big part. So that's a big one that's coming out this summer for us. And then on top of that, then we're going to talk more about, all the tools that we offer. We got a partnership with CropX. Jake could probably talk a little bit on that here in a little bit and how that's helped his business. But these are things that are really helping growers make decisions day by day, even hour by hour, not season by season anymore.
Mhm.
And those little micro adjustments throughout the year is what's really helping, affect those margins at the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, and like this is a little bit different topic, but it kind of ties, it makes me think you say micro adjustments. I listened to a podcast the other day that was talking about how a coach came in and took a bicycling team and they won the Tour de la France like 5 years in a row. And they had not won like 20 years prior to that every year. And the reason that they won is they started making micro adjustments. Like, how they slept, how their tires were, like all these little things, right? Like that applied each and every day they did while they were cycling, which is a total different thing. But I'm like,
Right.
it's micro adjustments, right? And so they literally went through and like maybe added a couple more pounds of air in their tires. They slept on a certain kind of pillow. I mean, like they worked backwards, and these micro adjustments allowed them to be consistent champions 5 years in a row. And so I'm like, okay, that's no different than what we're doing here in farming. Like we're making micro adjustments, we're working backwards where we're starting how much water a plant is getting or the coverage, and then what does that do to it? Like how does it produce? What does it do to the environment? I mean, it starts so small and it works so big, and that over a consistent time, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'll let Jay talk on this one, but we were just talking the other day about the size of farms and how they're growing and how technology helps. But Jay, if you
And,
want to,
and that's the real thing that we've seen with technology coming in is just the average farm, at least in our area, is probably twice what it was 10 years ago, with at least the same or even less help. And so they're covering more acres. They've got bigger tractors, bigger stuff, way more irrigation than they've ever done. And they're trying to manage that with less people. And that's where most of that smart irrigation comes in there. The all the remote operation with the phones and doing different stuff, you know when it's going on. But then also, like, even when they was smaller, I don't think they was doing near the job of like what you do with these crop X sensors and all.
Hmm.
And the main thing we've seen with soil moisture monitoring is they was watering probably too much at one point in time and too little later on.
hmm,
Probably putting out the same or less irrigation, but way more timely and getting a better results at the end. You're not losing that extra fertilizer and stuff that, but because of leaching that you did apply it early and different stuff like that.
So talk to me a little bit about what goes into that because as I'm sitting here, I'm like getting the most efficient strategy for each and every person because we don't have as many people working. We have obviously more technology, increased availability, but how do you actually put that to work to get a return on your investment and make the most out of it? So what goes into like if you were going to get, Jordan, this is your job,
Mhm.
this is how you are the most efficient out of it. How do you guys kind of organize and orchestrate that?
Um, First thing and most common used thing is technology like the RC3 that and platform and all that Jake was going over, where the farmers can see their irrigation on their phone, know where it's at in the field, what's going on with it. You can read system pressure, all kind of stuff, ETA to when it's going to be complete. A lot of that is about planning, being sure that the stuff's getting on. Like today, we've got scattered thunderstorms. Well, if you the average farmer now has probably got 50 machines. Well, if the storm comes through, it's 70% chance of rain today. Well, probably not enough that you're just going to switch off early. Well, when it starts raining and you can see that's going, you can hit the stop button on all 50. What's
Awesome.
the difference in that time frame that it took you to send out people to go to all these machines and all and switch everything off versus being able to save that water of the extra 3 hours of operation it would have took you to get to all of
Well, and just
them. The
having that
good
at your fingertips, like literally being able to see all your fields, what's going on, what's where, and all of that, and like at the touch of a button, you can either turn on, turn off. I mean, so efficient.
That's
right,
right.
right. And so one of the things that we offer, there's a thing called a direct ET sensor. So when we talk about ET, we're talking about evapotranspiration. How much water is actually leaving the entire field. Doesn't matter if the plant's using it or evaporation.
Okay.
We have these sensors we can put on these fields so you can actually see how much water is leaving each individual field. So like Jay said, if you got 70% chance of rain across 5 counties, well, are you going to shut off the right 70% of your pivots, right? And then if we add rain buckets in on top of these, then we can see exactly when it starts raining, how much it rained, stop all these machines, and then that's really where we start seeing those. We're affecting major bottom lines for these growers when we're, saving these fuel cost hours of labor, all this stuff just based off of our technology products. So
Well, and that leads me to my next question. You guys are an AgPack partner, which you guys have a really, really cool offer for all AgPack members. If you guys haven't, go to get my AgPack and get your AgPack ID. Anytime anybody that has their AgPack ID that has bought a truck from a certified ag dealer has access to all of these, which we all know we drive trucks as farmers. Mine looks a little beat up. Sorry. I mean, I hit things every now and then, but no big deal. But talk to me about the investment because, as I'm thinking, for my family, like we don't have pivots, but if we did, just like you said, hey, this is affecting the bottom line for these farmers and ranchers, right? But in the beginning, I think it'd be like, oh my gosh, that's a huge investment. Like, how do I take that step? So, are you guys going out to these farms, giving consultations, evaluating, like, how are you getting these systems set up to where it's like, hey, this is a big investment, but at the end of the day, your bottom line is going to be way higher, which we all know at the end of the day, we only make money a couple times a year, and that's huge. So making every penny count.
Yeah, so the first part, yeah, the AgPack program is huge. So what we do as a partner of the AgPack, we'd offer anybody who goes out and purchases that new Ram pickup, right? Hopefully
We're all
fix some
shopping Ram.
dents.
No,
Yeah,
just kidding.
yeah, yeah.
There
Go
are some Ford and Chevrolet people. We won't, I
right.
mean, but you should buy Ram. Okay.
So if you get that, what we would do is Reinke Manufacturing, we'd send you a packet and there's a letter. And let's say you're one of Jay's customers, and you need to go out and you're purchasing a new system or something, right? You're developing this new field out there watering pine tree seedlings.
Yeah.
We would actually offer for that grower part of the ag pack $2,500 off that new system. And then even on top of that, we'd still even offer another $1,000 off of parts that you would need through yearly stuff from Jay and his team. So yeah, it's a huge deal that I don't think that many people even are aware of. So the more we can get that message out there, the better off we are.
100%. And Jay, talk a little bit about you're a dealer as well, but
Yeah.
you're also a customer for the through the AgPack
Yes,
and program. And so you get a
that's
little
right.
bit different perspective. But
Yep.
talk about how it's impacted your program, what you've got going on, and like, how you've seen the benefits and the
Oh yeah.
rewards reaped.
Right, because I mean, both scenarios in the farming, you're going to need trucks and you're going to need irrigation equipment. And so if you combine together and use them kind of people that's got the ag pack system going on, well, that's an instant $2,500 savings on that. And then in any of these ag producers that's of any size, $1,000 worth of parts, it's just getting them started for the day. And so that, I mean, at a minimum with that relationship, you saving that $3,500.
Yeah.
And it's just back again. The bottom lines are always tight, and they're tighter this year. And that $3,500 makes a big difference. It helps everybody
Well,
and get
yeah.
some good equipment.
Good equipment is, and I think that's huge, because as we're working backwards in all the strategies that we're doing, no matter what the crop is, good equipment is vital. And I think that at the end of the day, that's where it all starts, right? So, Jake, talk to me a little bit more about your equipment and the process that goes into that, and just what all that Reinke offers.
Yeah, so realistically, we offer all sorts of irrigation solutions. Either center pivots, lateral move machines, linear machines, which is what Jay was just working with the other day. We have swing arm corners, which are an impressive piece of machinery, the ESAC that we come out with a couple years ago. But one of the neatest things that we've done with the release of this new E3, even Reinke Manufacturing invested over $10 million in a new robotics system here at the plant. If anybody is ever interested in a tour of some major robotics, this is an impressive system here that this thing even inspects every weld as it comes out. It's no
Wow.
longer manual inspection. Cameras are going up and down these systems, inspecting everything. So we get that 100% verified good product going out the door. So that's some big stuff we've done here. Also being family owned, Richard Reinke started this company. Walking up and down the halls, you'll still run into his kids still working here. You'll see his grandkids here. Even some of his great grandkids are walking through this place. But that family owned company is what really helps us establish great dealers like Jay and Brown Irrigation. I cannot say enough about our dealers and the way they work hand in hand with growers, no matter where we're at. So,
I love it. Jay, as a dealer and your family operation, what has been your biggest takeaway with working with Reinke? Just their hands-on approach, and it sounds like you guys talk a lot about equipment and how it could be best utilized. How has that impacted your production?
Yeah, and I think it starts from the simple deals, just like Jake's talking about the inspecting that pipe weld. Well, if we develop and supply a quality product, and that's one thing that has helped us and all, is looking at what is this machine going to cost us over the next 15 years? It's not about what it costs us today. It's about what it costs us over the life of that machine. And so being that approach of sitting down with the farmer and trying to figure out what fits his situation best and what is the best quality system that we can put there and where it matches and what sprinklers are going to operate best here and what all system and all works. It all has to match together. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's the biggest struggle and the biggest thing of figuring out what all pieces match to make that ideal system. because there is crazy options out here.
Well, and I love how you said the ideal system. Like to me, it's like, okay, I know my farm. I know what's going to work. I know what's in its best interest. And you can also come at that, Jay, and be like, hey, I also think this would be an additional benefit to your farm.
Mhm.
This
Yeah,
equipment's going to help you, this and that. So you can help talk through some of that stuff. And for
right.
me and my family, I think that that would have been ideal, just knowing, like talking through and not just so much like, oh my gosh, what are we doing this year? It's like, hey, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, because we all know farming is generational, right? And
Right.
so, how are you going to set up your farm for success? And then, how are you going to set your family up for success?
And that's what you was talking about earlier about the investment in over the years. And that's a lot of times of how that you can justify this thing is we've got to be putting in a system that's going to pay for itself over X amount of years and is not going to do it in 1 year. These are big long-term investments. And that's the importance of having a good rinky machine and having the stuff in the background, having people like Jake working there and making all the sure that all them details are there because you don't want a machine that's tearing up in 5 years.
Yeah.
You want a machine that's going to last.
Yeah,
Uh,
last for sure. I mean, quality counts and then all the things that we put those machines through as farmers too. We're going to beat on them a little bit. I mean, so
yes.
yeah, it definitely matters and it lasts. But gentlemen, this has been amazing. Smart irrigation, I've learned, I feel like I've learned a little bit more. How do people get in touch with you? How do we get these Rinky products in customers' hands through the AgPack and the certified ag program? How do they go about it and how do they redeem these offers?
Well, to start with, any customer that has any questions, I would put them in touch with any of our local Reinke dealers. Those are the experts. I mean, we've talked about the difference across the country. I mean, we didn't even touch the Pacific Northwest or Canada or anywhere else that we as Reinke Manufacturing have to help dealers with and that kind of stuff. So always, 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 we have the best dealer network out there. They are super sharp. Jay's been very modest. He didn't even bring up the fact that he's actually an engineer. So he said he's been working with irrigation for 20 years, but he's a Georgia Tech guy. So well, we won't hold that against him, but our dealers truly are the best.
Yeah. Well, and Jay, I mean, that just goes to show like I knew you were an engineer, but I relate this to roping, obviously, because that's what I do professionally. But it's like I try to be a student of the game, right? I try to know each and every detail of what I do from start to finish. And just by doing this podcast today, I can definitely tell that you know your stuff. You know from start to finish. You know the equipment, you know the land, you know this, you know that. So yes, my dad's also an engineer. You smart little boogers, you didn't make it there for me. But it's really amazing to see like how you're actually applying what you've learned and actually applying it to farming and everything else. It just applause to you.
Well, thank you. And I mean, it's something that I enjoy the learning. We constantly learning stuff. Stuff is in this technology side, it's constantly changing and growing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the real beauty of it. That's the fun of it.
Yeah,
But,
100%. And we like to
but
have fun farming. Farming is fun.
yes,
I mean,
of
you can
course.
run into stuff, you can water stuff, you can grow stuff. It's a great time. But both of you guys, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. You guys, we all know we drive trucks and we're all shopping Ram here in this circle. No pressure, no shame, but kind of. And yeah, so we're all shopping Ram. We're driving trucks. We're getting them from our certified ag group. And then we're also getting awesome benefits from people that we have, our AgPack partners, Mr. Rinky dealers. They're awesome. Jay, dealer, and also a customer of the Ag Pack. So we're all benefiting here. This is a $3,500 savings as one of the 45 partners on the Ag Pack deal. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate your time and happy irrigation month.
Awesome. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jordan.